So in this video, we're going to look at the product rule. And in this part, we are going to just develop the product rule by kind of going through this exploration together. So I would highly recommend you kind of just pause the video and read through this and then see if you could figure out the product rule from this. So it's just these 4 steps, and then you could resume after you do that and see if you're correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to find g prime of x and h prime of x, and we're saying g of x is x to the 7th, h of x is x to the 11th, and we're going to find f of x as g of x times h of x. So if I find g prime of x, we know that is 7x to the 6th. And if we find h prime of x, we know that that's 11x to the 10th. And then question 2 says, write an equation for f of x as a single power of x, and then find the equation for f prime of x. So f of x, they said, was g of x times h of x. So that would be x to the 7th times x to the 11th. And since we're multiplying, we add the exponents. So 7 plus 11 gives me 18. Okay? And then if I find the derivative, I get 18x to the 17th. Okay? So the issue is that when we're multiplying 2 functions together, students often want to just take the derivative of each part and then multiply them. And we're going to see that that does not work, that we don't get the same thing if we do that as when we like simplify and then take the derivative. So if I find f prime of x and I multiply g prime by h prime, I would get 7x to the 6th times 11x to the 10th, which is 77x to the 16th. And that's definitely not 18x to the 17th. So this doesn't work. Like I can't, if I have the product of 2 functions, I can't just take the derivative of each one and then multiply them together. So we want to see, is it possible to get the correct answer for f prime of x by a clever combination of the equations g of x, h of x, g prime, and h prime? So it says, for instance, you might notice that 18 in 8x to the 17, like this answer, is the sum of 7 and 11 in 7x to the 6th and 11x to the 10th. So figure out what combination. So what we're trying to do is, can we combine g prime, h prime, g and h in some way that we could end up getting 18x to the 17th? And they kind of give you a hint. They said, okay, well, I know if I add 7 and 11, I would get 18. Okay, but the problem is if I write just 7x to the 6th and add 11x to the 10th, I can't add them because they don't have the same exponent. And I also want to get it to be to the 17th. And it's not to the 17th, it would be 2 separate terms. So we need to look at, how do I get this to be to the 17th and how do I get that to be the 17th using the original functions f and g. So this is g prime and this is h prime. So using the original functions, sorry, g and h. So if I look at this, well, I could make this 7x to the 18th or to the 17th by using this x to 11. I could multiply this by x to 11, and then that would give me 7x to the 17th. And if I take this one and I multiply it by the other function, g of x, x to the 7th, then I would get 11x to the 17th as well. And now I can add them and I get 18x to the 17th, because to be able to add them, they have to be like terms. And this we said was g of x, and this we said was h of x. And this is called the product rule. So when I want to take the derivative of the product of 2 functions, I can't do this, do g prime and h prime and multiply them. Instead, I have to do this full combination, the product rule. And usually we're gonna have functions like this, that it would be a pain to multiply out, or there'll be functions that it's not possible to multiply out. And in that case, we have to use this product rule. Okay, so it either makes our life a lot easier, or we have to use it because there's no way to simplify otherwise. So this is the product rule. They usually write it with F and G instead of G and H. It really doesn't matter. But what we do is we do the first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. And you can write it with the X's, or you don't have to write it with X's. The order doesn't matter. So you can put the G of X, F prime of X first. You could put G prime first and then F of X. The main thing is it's one with the derivative of the other function. And in words, the derivative of the product is the first function times the derivative of the second function plus the second function times the derivative of the first function. And like I said, I generally think of it as the first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. So we have these two functions, and a lot of students like to write it on the side and write all the pieces. So this is 2x plus 3 is f. Okay, this is my first function. And then x squared minus 2x plus 8 plus 5 is my second function. And then I'm going to take the derivative of both. So 2x plus 3 is 2. And x squared minus 2x plus 5 is 2x minus 2. And then you can kind of look at the combination. The combination when we're doing f times g prime and then g times f prime. So I'm multiplying these, and then it's always addition in between. So this derivative would be 2x plus 3 times 2x minus 2 plus g x squared minus 2x plus 5 times 2. And if you want to simplify, and if the question specifically says simplify, then you can, but otherwise you don't need to simplify. If you were to simplify, you would like multiply this out using FOIL. So it'd be like 4x squared plus 6x minus 6x minus 6. And then this would be, I would distribute this 2. So it'd be 2x squared minus 4x plus 10. And then you could combine your like terms. So we get 6x squared. These add to 0. So we just get minus 4x and then plus 4. Okay, so let's look at a few more examples. We're not going to multiply this one out. It would take way too long, something to the 5th power. So we definitely need to do product rule. So I'm going to do my F and G, but in this case, because they have F of X, just pick a different letter. So usually like G and H, it doesn't matter. If you're going to write it on the side, if you're comfortable with just jumping right in, you can do that as well. So you get G of X is 3x minus 5 squared. And then H of X is 4x squared plus 2 to the 5th. And then for these, we have to use that chain rule. So we do the derivative of the outside. So we bring the 2 down and we keep the inside the same. And then we do 2 minus 1, which is 1. And we multiply it by the derivative of this inside. So the derivative of 3x minus 5 is 3. Right? And then for this, we do the same. I don't want to put plus, I'm just doing these on the side. H prime is, we bring down the 5, we keep the inside the same. It comes to the 4th power because 5 minus 1 is 4, and then we multiply by the derivative of the inside, 4x squared plus 2, which is 8x. Okay, and then these I would simplify a little bit to make it easier. So this is, I can multiply the constants together. So 2 times 3 is 6, and then I have 3x minus 5. And 5 times 8x is 40x. And that's 4x squared plus 2 to the 4th. And move this over a little bit so we can see it. And then we do our combination. Okay, so I do G times this H prime. Or it's G times H prime plus H times G prime. So I would get G, which is 3x minus 5 squared. I'm gonna have to move this down or I'm gonna hit the other one. Times the H prime, which is 40x times 4x squared plus 2 to the 4th plus, and then we do H times G prime. So we have 4x squared plus 2 to the 5th times this here, which is 3x minus 5. And again, you don't really have to simplify these. The only thing we usually do is put the term that's not in the parentheses first. It's just a little bit cleaner. Okay, and this, you could either put this whole thing first or the second one, it doesn't matter. And again, if you do a different order, that's fine as well. It just, the main thing is that you're doing the one function with the derivative of the other. Okay, and then this is the same thing. So we have G of X. So I'm gonna call, I have a function F and then H. So F would be X and then H would be 4x minus 5 squared. So F prime is equal to 1, and then H prime is, we bring down the 2, we keep the inside the same. Okay, I'm using that chain rule, and then I multiply by the derivative of the inside, which is 4. Okay, and just to clean that up a little bit, I get 8, 4x minus 5. And then we multiply when we do the derivative. Again, it's the one times the derivative of the other. So it'd be F times H prime plus H times F prime. Okay, again, if you don't like using different functions, it's fine on the side if you use F and G each time. So F is X, and then H prime is 8 times 4x minus 5 plus, and then H is 4x minus 5 squared, and then times 1. Okay, so that gives me, if I simplify this, 8x times 4x minus 5 plus 4x minus 5 squared. Okay, so that's some examples with the product rule.